All right, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. It's Brandon with Burns Lawn Care. I hope you guys are doing well. This is the PTO box out of my Walker mower here. And as you can see, right here, this seal is no good. So I ended up getting a replacement seal kit. I don't think the other seals are bad because I didn't see any other leaks. But I checked the one behind this pulley before I put it on when it was in the mower, and that was okay. But when I climbed underneath the mower to check something else out, I saw that this was all wet. It had been leaking for a while. So normally what happens that I've noticed, when you have a seal fail like this, normally it's because of the bearing inside. What happens is the bearing starts to wear. It creates a lot of vibration going on inside the box. The shaft starts to dance around a little, wipes out the seal. Also, what can happen is excessive vibration can shear these bolts off, these 4 bolts that go inside this box, or it can actually strip out the threads inside. And I've also seen cases where, since there's so much vibration going in here from bad bearings most of the time, it'll actually crack the frame of the mower itself, and then you'll have to weld repair that. So what I think is going on here is this bearing is no good, but we'll know more when we get into it. I didn't feel any play in the shaft. When I hold it and wiggle it, I can wiggle it. I can't wiggle it up and down or side to side, so the bearing might be okay. But just in case, I have a bearing left over from another PTO job that I did beforehand. This is a national bearing, L44643. It can cross-reference to many other bearings. This is just the bearing that the auto parts store happened to have in stock when I picked mine up. So you don't need to order these from Walker. You can go right to the parts store and pick them up. Now, the reason why I'm showing you guys this is because, quite honestly, my channel is dedicated to, you know, the do-it-yourselfers that don't want to rely on a dealership to get repairs done. Honestly, a dealership would probably just replace this entire box because it would take more time and labor for them to dissect it and figure out what was going on with it than to just bolt a new one in. Now, if I'm not mistaken, these boxes are close to $500, maybe even more now with the inflation going on. There's no way that I'm going to spend that over, you know, a $20 seal kit and, you know, a $20 bearing. So my channel is geared towards people that want to work on their mowers themselves, that might need a hand doing so. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to give you guys the best content that I could possibly give, and the best advice that I could possibly give to help you guys out. Getting the box out itself, I didn't film that because I just wanted to keep this video short and sweet and to the point. But basically, long story short, what you do is you remove the 4 bolts that go in here. You remove the brake band. The brake band that goes through here, that goes around this pulley. It goes right up through this keeper here, and you have a lock nut that goes on the other side of here. And you remove the tensioner spring that goes to the jack shaft. And then you have to remove this dipstick cap here. This dipstick itself, you have to remove it because it'll hit the frame as you're getting out. So you just pull it out, and then you can angle the box just like this and slide the whole unit right out. Now, it's easier to do this with the engine out. Luckily, my engine was already out because I have to put a new one in. I have heard of guys taking the pulleys off and removing the blower and then taking the PTO box out, but guys, just do yourself the favor. In my opinion, just take the engine out. It's not that hard, and it's a lot of frustration that you're going to save if you just pull the engine out, because then you have access to everything. Now, in this video, I will show you how I reinstall it, and I kind of will walk you through the basics of what it takes to, you know, put it in and take it out. But this video is mainly geared towards repairing the PTO box itself. Alright, so I've already cracked these bolts loose, but let me show you a little trick I do. I don't have the Allen sockets that go on here. I have just the Allen wrenches, and honestly I don't even think you could fit a socket in there because it might rub this housing. But what I like to do is I put this in like so. I'll give this a tap with a hammer like that to drive it in so I got a good bite on it. And then I'll just take a deep socket with a ratchet extension. I'll use it as leverage. So it's much easier to just do it like this, give it a love tap, drive it in, take your ratchet extension with a deep socket, and just crack it loose just like that. So let's take these out. So there's 2 bolts here and 2 bolts on the other side, and this top half of this case should just come right off. I'm hoping I don't have to take the pulley off, but I might have to. This pulley here, I might have to. I didn't tighten it up anyway, so if it's got to come off, it's not that big a deal. So we remove these 2 bolts here on this side where the shaft is. Now we're going to remove these 2 bolts here. Alright guys, I am going to take this pulley off. I didn't Loctite these bolts or anything like that because I put this on loosely, and that was on purpose because I didn't want to finalize any of this stuff until I had my PTO belt on itself to make sure that everything was lined up before I Loctited it in. Also, please note that I drained the oil out of this box prior to me opening it up. I drained out all the oil that would come out, and that is done by this Allen screw right here at the bottom. Just, you know, take your Allen wrench, put it in there, take it out, and voila, the oil comes out. So I ended up using the impact. It was just much easier to take these out. All right, pulley's off. And I'm glad I took it off because I would have never gotten this case off because there's two bolts there and there's 2 bolts there. I totally forgot about those. That's weird. I'm using a different size on here. I wonder if someone's been in there before. Let me blow these out with the air gun real quick. It's important to blow them out so you can get a good bite when you put your Allen wrench on there. So here's a perfect opportunity to show you guys what I was talking about when it comes to tapping on that Allen wrench. Now guys, it's much easier to put this in the vise and do this. So you have, you know, good leverage. So put the Allen wrench in, give it a love tap, crack it loose just like I did, just like that. You could use some penetrating lube if it's really being a bugger, but usually this method works for me. Gotta air gun that one again. It's weird because on the last box I did, all the bolts were the same. So I don't know if this is because this is a newer style and that's what they did or what, but I don't really like that. I don't really like that, but who knows? Maybe that's the way they come now. It's kind of stupid if you ask me. Alright, now, since all these bolts are out, I should be able to split this case. These two bolts here, they're not going to come out fully because they're hitting this bracket, but they're not into this case, so I'm hoping I should be able to split the case still. If not, I'll have to remove these two brackets, but kind of hoping to get away with not doing that. Alright. Let's see if I can get this apart. There she is. Oh, wow. There she is. All right. What do we got going on here? So guys, there's really not a whole lot to these gearboxes. They're pretty self-explanatory, honestly. Here's the seal that was bad. This seal here doesn't look too bad. That seal there seems to be okay. Now if I lift up on this shaft, this whole thing should come out, and it does, just like that, see? Well, the bearing doesn't feel bad. It's not crunchy when I spin it. I think what's going on here is just a seal, but you know what? Since we're in here, we're going to put a new bearing on this anyway. Wouldn't hurt. These are notorious for failing because this is where all the strain is on these mowers. So I just took one of the seals off here. Come on. There we go. It was kind of a pain in the butt to do. Okay. Alright guys, so this bearing's frozen on there. It's not even gonna come off, so I gotta heat it up. And hopefully I'll be able to take the ball joint removers there and the ball joint fork and slide it out. Oh my God. Holy cow. That was on there. That was on there real good. Ouch. Real hot, guys. Real hot. Oh my God. Okay, that was the toughest bearing I have ever had to remove on a PTO shaft here. I had to heat the crap out of it to get it to come off. That was just insane. I'm glad it's off. So there's some marks in the shaft from me putting it in the vise. So I'm gonna have to sand that with some sandpaper to get that nice and smooth. So when you install a new bearing, it slides over evenly. This is 220 grit sandpaper here. Just gonna sand up these scuff marks. Alright guys, this is a National Bearing L44643. This cross-references to many different types of bearings. I think these originally are Timkins that are in here. But, so I just sprayed this thing with some WD-40. And we'll slide it on. A lot easier to go on and they ought to come off. Oh, I forgot I had to put this one in first. Okay, there's that one. It's in there nice. All right, let's put this in. All right, let's open up my seals here. All right, nice new seal here. spray some lubricant on it when you put it in, just so it goes on easy and you don't damage it. Get it lined up with the groove. That one's lined up with the groove. That's in. Now in this one, it gets one more seal on the exterior, which is this guy right here. Spray this one too. Now, alright guys, well, that's how it's done. Like I said, the gearbox was not leaking from these seals, and it usually never does. I've never seen it leak from there. Usually it leaks from here, and it's usually because this bearing's wiped out, like I said. It causes vibration in the shaft, it takes out the seal. So, even though this bearing was a pain in the butt to get off, it actually really wasn't that bad. It saved me close to $1,000 doing it myself. And if I can show you guys how to do something and you guys can learn from it and do it yourself, and it saves you some coin, that's even better. So now we can start putting it back together. All right. So this goes on just like this. Give it a few love taps with the dead blow. Okay, that's on there. The seal looks good. All right, let's put the bolts back in. When you guys are tightening these bolts, make sure that you tighten them in a cross pattern. Get all of them started first, and then tighten them in a cross pattern so the cover and the two halves screw together flush. If you just tighten one side at a time, it's never going to sit flush, and it's probably going to leak on you. Just a little tip for you. Alright, so I got all the bolts tightened down in the cross pattern like I was talking about. And I'm going to leave this pulley off when I reinstall the box. It's just much easier for me to put it on after the fact. But let me show you how this goes in. Alright, remember I told you this dipstick tube has to come out? Or this dipstick itself? It has to, because it's not going to clear this jack shaft. So just take the box, feed it in like so. And there it is. It's back in the frame. Now, if you didn't take the dipstick, itself out, it hit on this jack shaft and you'd end up kinking it right here, which I kind of already did earlier when I was removing it because I forgot to take it out. Now I can put my 4 bolts back in on the bottom, and then the box itself is back in the chassis. This is why it's important, guys, to take the engine out, and easier to do this job if you just take the engine out, because with the engine in, forget it. It's just a nightmare. All right, so I got my my 4 bolts started. I'm going to tighten them in a cross pattern like we did before on the box itself. So we're going to get them all snug first. Once it starts to hit the chassis, the box itself, like once the bolt starts to get snug with the chassis, stop and go to the others and snug those up. That's snug. Okay, now, since that's snug, I can start tightening. Now, you don't have to go super tight. You don't want to strip out the aluminum box. Just get it decently tight. Okay, now that's on. Nice. Next step, I'm gonna put the pulley back on, and then we'll realign this pulley here with the blower and put the belt back on. All right, so for the pulley, this is threaded. It takes a bolt and then a lock washer. So what I do is slide this up over like that, get it lined up with the holes, like that, and then you can start screwing them in. This style pulley is much better than the old style that didn't have this flange. The old style didn't have this flange to bolt the pulley to, and you actually had to use a pulley puller to get it off. What a nightmare that is. You gotta heat it up with a torch. It's really bad. This new style is much better. All right, guys. Next step is putting the blower belt back on. But first we need to make sure that our pulley is lined up with this, and as you can tell right now, it's not. So what I usually do is I take I make sure the pulley's loose. I take a pry bar here, and I just give it some taps with a dead blow, and I scoot that pulley over until the center of this pulley is in the center of this one. Pulley alignment, guys, is very critical, because if the pulleys aren't lined up, you're going to get excessive belt wear, and you could even just prematurely break the belt. So that's very important. So let me show you how we do this. Right now the pulley's loose. See how I'm just giving it some taps and scooting it right over? That right there looks pretty decent. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to put the belt on, and then I'm going to rotate the belt. And really what that'll do is self-align itself so it's perfect. So it's perfectly in sync with these other ones. So once I do that and spin it a few times, then I can tighten this pulley up. So let's go ahead and put the belt back on. This is another reason why I say, guys, have the engine out, because you can actually work in here. If you're trying to do this with the engine in, forget it. It's a nightmare. All right, so I'm gonna pull this tensioner back. That allows me to put the belt on. In case you guys are wondering what this yellow stuff is, it's just powder coat dust from me powder coating. All right, so that's on. Now I'm just gonna spin it. And what that'll do is this belt will walk this pulley over so, so it's perfectly in sync with the other ones. This seems to be pretty good right there. Nice. So what I'll do is I'll put some Loctite on these set screws here, and I'll tighten them up. Some blue Loctite. You don't want to use red, and you'll never get it off in the future. You don't need much. Just a little dab. That one's tight. All right, and that one's tight. All right, now we can put the spring back on. And normally I replace these, but this one's not all stretched out, so it's actually in good shape. Usually when it's stretched out, the coils no longer touch each other, and it'll be kind of looking like this in some areas. But this is a good spring. So we'll put the spring back on. So that goes just like that. And you stretch the spring down. Like that. That's back on. Okay. Now we can put the brake band back on, which is right here. And what I did was I took a picture of the adjustment where the nut was prior to taking this apart, but I actually remember about where it was. And this just stops the blades when you turn them off. I think you're supposed to adjust it so they stop within 5 seconds. But this isn't overly critical in my opinion. And I'll probably end up farting around with this at a later time once I get the deck on and everything. But this is about where it was prior to me doing anything with it. Alright, so we got all the pulleys back on. Again, we left this loose on purpose. This pulley here is squared up with this one's lined up. The belt's back on. And that there, guys, is how I do a PTO box seal and bearing replacement. So I use 75/90 gear oil to fill these. I use the same gear oil for everything on the walker, even the final drives here, and the gearboxes for the blades. So I'm gonna fill this. So I'm gonna fill this up here. I'm gonna fill it right through the dipstick tube. It does take a little while longer to fill it through the dipstick tube, but say hi, buddy. But this is the method I use when I'm filling it up. It's going to burp a little bit and then it goes down. It's because this box is not vented, so all the air has to come to the top. That's why it burps at you. But you just go slow and take your time. That's all there is to it, guys. And what I'll do periodically is I'll stick the dipstick in and then and check the level on the box, and that'll be it. So I hope this video serves you guys well. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. In the next upcoming video, I'm going to show you how we put the wiring harness in. We're going to put the engine in. And the wiring harness might be a separate video because that's kind of complex. But maybe not. But I'm going to show you how we do all that and continue the build. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for tuning in.